Welcome back, guys. Hope you've been having a great week. And sorry for the no upload yesterday. We do have some very big news to talk about today, though. But really quick, let me talk about that no upload yesterday. You see, I actually made a whole video yesterday. Came out to like 20 minutes long. But then as I was like uploading it, I didn't like how it came out. I felt like my points weren't great. I was kind of like scatterbrained. Sure enough, I woke up a little bit sick today. So I think maybe my brain was just kind of messed up yesterday. The good news is the second part of that video was like a reaction thing. You'll see what I mean, because I'm probably going to use that part since it was just like a reaction thing and not me having to make points that I didn't end up really liking that much. Planning to upload the reaction thing, which should be like a 10-12 minute long video, as its own video either later today or tomorrow. So yeah, that's what happened yesterday. Hopefully that all made sense. And on that note, since I'm still just a little under the weather today, I might just try to stick to talking about the news here, or rather reading the news here, and not really having too much commentary. That way it limits how much I might actually mess this up. Hopefully I don't mess this up. So yeah, thanks for understanding. And that takes us to the big news. SAG-AFTRA making this announcement saying, we have reached a tentative agreement with the video game bargaining group, which includes some of the largest video game companies in the world. And we are hopeful that our video game strike will be suspended in the coming days. Going on to show the graphic, repeating what they just said. This making it seem like, yeah, the official video game strike is coming to an end. Now, of course, as it relates to Hoyoverse, that doesn't change anything at all. The Hoyoverse strike or collective work refusal was not a part of this official strike. So, if those VAs continue to refuse to work, probably more of them will continue to get replaced, and we'll have to see if they're going to give up on that now that this official one's done too. Maybe they'll just try to get back to work now too. It all remains to be seen. I suppose on one last note about that though, according to my recollection of what Josie just said in his video, the collective work refusal against Hoyoverse by a number of these VAs was largely spurred by this official strike, trying to use the momentum of this official strike to get their demands met by Hoyoverse, trying to get Hoyo to sign the agreement that they wanted them to sign, etc., and trying to use the public support that they had at the time for this to also gain public support for the collective work refusal against Hoyo. All a bunch of really opportunistic stuff that ended up backfiring on them greatly, of course. The point being, if they were using the momentum from the official strike for their collective work refusal and the official strike's done, perhaps you could say that's more evidence to them potentially just giving up on the collective work refusal. But once again, we'll see how that all plays out soon enough, I suppose. The kicker to all of this is that it, of course, is tentative. To my understanding, that means the union members still need to vote on this. As it stands now, or at least like rather right before this news, we saw, as covered multiple times, that there was a divide in the VAs, with some wanting the strike to end from the last best and final offer that was already made by the video game bargaining group. However, many others also wanting the strike to continue, saying that the last best final offer was not good enough. One of those people, Ben Diskin over on Blue Sky, according to my recollection, but here's what he has to say about this tentative agreement. Excellent news. Big thanks to our negotiating committee, our lawyers, our strike captains and strike performers, and everyone who helped make this happen. Let's get back to work. So, again, this was one of the VAs, according to my recollection, who wanted the strike to continue even after the let's just say last best final offer. It's easier. LBFO. And so if he's saying now that this is like good enough, this tentative agreement, presumably he would vote on this to be accepted. And if many of the other VAs who were originally wanting the strike to continue share the same sentiment that Ben Diskin has here, which it seems like many do, then also presumably they would vote on this agreement being accepted as well. So, yeah, it's looking like this probably will pass. It's not set in stone, but all things seem to indicate that most likely this will be accepted. For example, there's Sean Laraway once again, this time saying, I'm so proud of y'all. Here's hoping we can all get back to work with proper AI and ICDR protections. I can't wait to work with all the amazing actors who held the line. Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, the ones who didn't held the line, though, screw those guys, right? So, you know what? There's probably still going to be a divide in these VAs. I mean, it's like Allegra Clark said, a lot of these VAs in this whole community, in the whole VA community, are just like really hateful towards each other. Like sort of people who stab each other in the backs and all that. It seems like, yeah, it's not going to change. After all this stuff, too, there's probably going to be more animosity. There's going to be like divide between the VAs who held the line and VAs who want the strike to end. There's probably going to be like a bunch of petty shade going on behind the scenes and all that. Expect the VA industry to be just as toxic as ever, maybe even worse. And just as a quick refresher, I was of course referring to this top tweet here. We'll just read that one. It says, there's so much ugliness despite Allegra Clark. There's so much ugliness happening in the community, mistrust, accusations, sabotage, and fractured friendships. The stakes of the strike are understandably massive, given that they do have to do with how our voices are used in the future, whether we consent to any of it or are paid. I guess I'll read this one too. Those stakes mean that everyone is on edge and everyone is passionate, but my gosh, I don't recognize the industry compared to last year. This is a freaking nightmare, and I think it needs to end. Back over on Blue Sky, we've got Sean Chiplock, the VA of Daliush in Genshin Impact. Deluxe VA saying, assuming this passes, and given what additional gains we received, it very well might. What's even more important than the protections we secured is maintaining them alongside the ones that weren't guaranteed. It's a far better deal, but it isn't perfect, and we need to make sure we stay attentive. Check out this one. Just don't you dare sign another stupid AI contract like you did after the last strike, and make all of this time spent striking completely pointless like you did before. Oh, who the heck am I kidding? That's totally what you're going to do. VA Kyle McCarley over on Blue Sky, another one who's been pretty outspoken during all this, says, it's been a long, hard fight, and even once an agreement is ratified, that fight is not over. To all my actor siblings, union or non, stay involved, stay informed, stay vigilant. This contract renegotiates every 3 years. Congratulations on a major milestone. Okay, so 3 years for these video game companies to solidify the logistics of getting all their VA talent to be non-union or from overseas, then they'll drop this agreement. I'm kidding. I mean, we'll see what happens, but could you imagine, bro? Imagine if 3 years later, they go to renegotiate this, and they're just like, actually, no, we want nothing to do with you guys. Sorry. We were just figuring it all out for the last 3 years just to be sure. Bought some time. Bye-bye. So yeah, that's some of the public reception from VAs. Then we'll take a look at some reception on the Genshin Impact subreddit. Although, again, this isn't related to Hoyoverse, really, but it'll be interesting to see what people are saying over there regardless. For now, let's take a look at the official post on SAG-AFTRA.org about this news, saying it is expected the strike will be suspended once the terms of the strike suspension agreement are finalized with employers. SAG-AFTRA and the signatory video game companies, which include Activision Productions, Blindlight, Disney Character Voices, Electronic Arts Production, Epic Games, Formosa, Take-Two, WB, have reached a tentative agreement on terms for the interactive media contract, subject to review and approval by the National Board and ratification by the membership in the coming weeks. Specific details of the agreement will be released with the ratification materials. It is expected the terms of the strike suspension agreement will be finalized with employers soon. Until such agreement is reached, however, SAG-AFTRA members will remain on strike against these employers. SAG-AFTRA National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator Duncan Crabtree Ireland said, everyone at SAG-AFTRA is immensely grateful for the sacrifices made by video game performers and the dedication of the Interactive Media Agreement Negotiating Committee throughout these many months of the video game strike. I wonder if they'll ever say how much money they made during this. Obviously, I don't expect them to do that. It would be hilarious to see that number, though, wouldn't it? Patience and persistence has resulted in a deal that puts in place the necessary AI guardrails that defend performers' livelihoods in the AI age, alongside other important gains. Thank you, Interactive Media Agreement Negotiating Chair Sarah Elmaleh and Chief Contracts Officer Ray Rodriguez for your hard work and advocacy in pursuit of this contract. SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher stated, our video game performers stood strong against the biggest employers in one of the world's most lucrative industries. Their incredible courage and persistence, combined with the tireless work of our negotiating committee, has at least secured a deal. The needle has been moved forward, and we are much better off than before. As soon as this is ratified, we roll up our sleeves and begin to plan the next negotiation. Every contract is a work in progress, and progress is the name of the game. SAG-AFTRA members have been on strike against video game employers since July 26, 2024. Prior to that, SAG-AFTRA members approved a video game strike authorization of September 2023 with a 98.32% yes vote. Over on the Genshin Impact subreddit, responses to this news, top responses reading, I mean, that's great and all, but I thought it was established that even if they do reach an agreement of any kind, that anything Hoyo related wouldn't be affected either, since Hoyo wasn't formally struck. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. They got responses that read, the union would presumably be less obnoxious about trying to pressure people to withhold work when there's no strike. Someone else saying, I think people are just assuming and hoping that this means SAG will go back to turning a blind eye to Rule 1 like before the strike started. That could happen. But I feel like even if they did that, some of the VAs who were problematic and attacked the fandom still won't come back if they have any amount of self-awareness, that is. You really think those people have self-awareness? They've already proven that they don't. Another one saying, you're right. I guess the thing that Hoyo can gain from this is that any arguments for the work refusal or informal strike that used AI as an excuse is no longer valid, considering their own union, SAG-AFTRA, have reached an agreement according to this post. basically less reason for valid work refusal and more reason for replacement. Well, I don't know if it works like that. I mean, it just, I just think it doesn't matter to Hoyo at all. It's like irrelevant. And the global rule 1 thing, we've already seen that they weaponize that against people who upset the clique. So they may still just try and go after people who get like ratted out. Like they may give certain people a pass, but if it's someone who upset the clique, those people report them to SAG-AFTRA and make noise about it and try to cause issues for those people, like we saw happening seemingly to Erica. You know, it seemed like someone ratted her out, and a lot of these VAs behind the scenes on Blue Sky that were like insulting her about it seemed to have some like inside info about what happened, making them all look pretty guilty, pretty suspicious. Again, I've elaborated on that all much more in the past, but I'm like kind of out of it today, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm like, if I try and explain everything, I think I'm probably just gonna butcher it. So let's keep reading. In any event, several VAs are getting recast because of unprofessional behavior. We certainly don't know that, but I will personally be disappointed if Karina, Shara, and Kaylee aren't recast after the BS they pulled. The others who just retweeted or who were more passively pro-SAG, I can understand bringing back, but the most aggressive have given the game a black eye through their behavior. Well, Karina overtly said if Hoyo doesn't sign an agreement, she's not coming back, right? So we'll see what happens there. It doesn't seem like they're signing anything. Shara Kirby, didn't she literally say like F Hoyoverse, like I'm not ever gonna work for this again? I'm paraphrasing that part, but I'm pretty sure she did say like F Hoyoverse amongst another other like really toxic stuff. So it's hilarious how performative that looks when she said all that, but then never made a follow-up statement saying that she like formally gave up her role or anything. Like we haven't seen that she's actually been recast in any patch notes or anything. So yeah, it shows how fake these people are. And Kaylee Mills, where do we even get started, man? I don't think I got the energy for that. Another very fake person, fake apology, very toxic, the stuff that she was posting. My gosh, you guys all know the story about her, I'm sure, hopefully. If not, just look up like my videos about Kaylee Mills. You just type in like Hero Hey, Kaylee Mills, or like Hero Hey, hated VA. I think a few of them would pop it up with that search. And based on what we were told, this will have absolutely no effect on their work refusal with Hoyo unless SAG suddenly decides to look the other way about Global Rule 1 now that an agreement has been reached. Trusting their word after all the stuff they've pulled, need to actually see it first. And who's to say the VA's still going to continue to sit on their hands in an increasingly vain attempt to turn Genshin Impact into Union? I ain't buying it. Genshin Impact's slowly moving on from American VAs, and I hope it stays that way. Karina, please don't come back. I mean, she did say that she would refuse to come back until a SAG contract is signed. So if she did come back, she would be a hypocrite. I mean, she's already been a hypocrite how many times? This would just be another point to the list. But everyone already knows she has no problems. Oh yeah, there you go. But everyone already knows she has no problems with being labeled a hypocrite, so who knows? Yeah, we'll see. There's the link to the page that we already read. Scroll just a second longer. Let's read this one really quick. None of this matters till I see a new name for Paimon's role, hopefully before 5.7. Still ain't gonna change anything for new VAs. Hoyo's not gonna touch the Union with a mile-long pole. Old VAs, now they got no excuse for refusing to voice the game. Strike does not equal Global Rule 1. Both are separate, by the way. Global Rule 1 still stands even if the strike ends. Their main goal is to turn Hoyo into SAG project. AI protection is just an excuse. Yeah. Yeah, they had no excuse even with this official strike going on. Again, it was just them being really opportunistic, hoping to use the momentum of the strike, plus the presumed goodwill of online communities and people in general supporting the official strike, hoping that they would all just blindly support the unofficial strike against Hoyoverse, the collective work refusal. These people took everyone for granted, tried to manipulate everyone, tried to lie to everyone, tried to gaslight everyone. You know what happened, man. So pathetic. And lastly, we'll read these two really quick. Remember, Genshin has always been non-union. This means absolutely zero, nothing, nada, zilch in regards to the status of voiceover in our game. Nothing, and I mean literally nothing has changed in regards to Genshin's contract. If all of a sudden all the voice actors decide to come back because the strike is over, that's just them trying to save face and manipulate you. Quite frankly, insulting your intelligence. Response reading. It depends. I think many, including SAG VAs, are hoping that once they finally reach an agreement and in the strike, SAG would go back to turning a blind eye on those who break Global Rule 1. Well, like I said already, in my opinion, based off how I've seen these VAs in the union operate and their bootlickers operate and the union itself operate, I just expect them to weaponize Global Rule 1. It's my opinion. Like, they'll give some people a pass. They'll make a problem out of it for others, all based on the clique and the nepotism and all that nonsense. If that actually happens, continuing, if that actually happens, then a lot of the union VAs that held back solely due to the actual strike might come back. but those that are participating in the work refusal probably won't. Lastly, we will briefly take a look at the R Game subreddit and see what some of the reception is to this news, with, of course, the caveat now being that this is fully related to the official strike, not the Hoyo stuff, so it'll also be interesting to see really quick what people are saying about the official strike and the ending and all that, or potentially ending, seemingly ending soon, right here. The title, SAG-AFTRA and video game employers reach tentative agreement on interactive media contract, National Board to review. This top comment reading, the whole strike has been a win for non-US actors and foreign companies realizing the English language exists in multiple countries. I'm pretty confident in like 20 years, most video game voiceover work will be non-US, with Britain as the main source, at least for fantasy games and or games without a specific US setting. We're already seeing the likes of Ben Starr be in so many things, which is great, and of course, Jennifer English. The next top comment reading, frickin' finally, this was starting to get ridiculous with how long it went. Hopefully the damage already done to the NA voice acting industry isn't beyond repair. There's many companies who likely won't be hiring SAG VAs either way from now on, like Hoyo. A user would respond to them saying, I believe gacha devs overall might already be shifting to non-American VAs for their English dubs. SAG-AFTRA or not, just plain less trouble and drama. Half the NA Genshin VAs are such divas from such a cursory look at their socials. Incredible. Literal who's acting like A-list celebs. Embarrassing. Bro, even on the game subreddit, they're getting called out. It's so true, too, though. Hopefully the damage already done to the NA voice acting industry isn't beyond repair. They quote and say, considering upcoming live service games like Silver Palace, as far as I can tell, for example, are evidently stepping away from American voiceovers, I think there's some clear indication that non-American game devs have effectively blacklisted American/union VAs, and I don't blame them. This next top comment reading, as someone involved in the games industry and knows people from the developers' side related to the strike, the damage this strike has done to the NA VA scene is unimaginable. I think the true impact of this can never be measured. SAG-AFTRA has essentially forced some of the most prolific studios, live and not, to move overseas for their VA recording, which has been highly positive due to the lack of drama, variety of actors and accents, and great reception from players. Destroyed all their goodwill and public image, cut themselves off from some of the lucrative, safe, and constant source of income from their workers, who are already competing in an impossible market, fighting for literal scraps where most VAs do not get more than a few roles every now and again. They have in a single year done an amount of damage to the NAVA industry, which will probably be studied for years to come. All to chase a monopoly, which in many ways they already had. In one fell swoop, they damaged both the NA union and non-union VA scene, and all they have to show for it is a pathetic whimper. But I'm sure they'll spin this as a win with how much they achieved. My heart really goes out to all the up-and-coming VAs who might have just had their future ruined from the very group meant to protect them. So yeah, I'll leave it there, guys. That is the news. Interesting update we got here. And again, my apologies for the lack of energy, or if I made any speaking errors or like mistakes in general. Hopefully I don't get more sick. Hopefully I'm like all better tomorrow, but we will see. Thank you so much for your understanding. I hope you enjoyed my coverage, and if you did, regardless of all that, please consider liking and subscribing. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in the comments here and in the next one.